Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker and today is our next card reveal on the channel. I've had the pleasure of being able to release, have a card reveal for sets 2, 3, 4 and 5 and now I've got one for set 6. It's an honour as always to be chosen for things like this. I never take it for granted. I understand how lucky those of us that get card reveals are, so a huge shout out to Ravensburger for the opportunity. I'm going to tell you straight away, it's not a villain. I did do my usual puzzle pieces clue. Here they are one more time for your final guesses. I am premiering this video and I am going to combine it with some more card reviews in general from Azure at Sea because I'm super behind. But I don't want to make the video too long and I am going to start off with the card reveal for those of you that may just only be interested in that. If you do want to stick around, we're going to look at some more of the recently revealed cards from Azure at Sea. But yeah, we're going to do the reveal first. Also, an apology because this video has been delayed twice. I was meant to get this out on Friday, and then I said it would be out on Saturday, and I've just had things come up. So I apologise for the delay. Two quick things. First of all, a shout out to Cardmarket for sponsoring the channel. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But also, a very quick plug. There is going to be an event in Bologna, Italy, run by Law League called Fall League on the 23rd of November. There's a great prize pool available, guaranteed prize grid as follows here, all of which in coupons for Cardmarket or for traders on site, I believe. These prizes increase with more players, so if we get 250 participants, then it will the prizes will become this. And they have very kindly invited me to go along to be one of the casters, and it's actually going to be streamed on my channel. I'm going to be casting alongside Martin Lorcana of Lorcana Island, who you may be familiar with. And there's going to be some other special guests. Artabax, very well-known player. Moyen, who I believe was 3rd seed in DLC Seattle, which day 2 should be happening either not long after this video premieres, if all goes according to plan, or it might be at the same time. But nonetheless, super happy for Moyen. But yeah, he's going to be there. And Harlan Sweet, who you may also recognize, fellow content creator and Blue Steel enthusiast. And there's going to be some artists there. This artist that did these upcoming cards from set 6. This artist that did this playmat, which is going to be available for players to buy, which I'm absolutely in love with. And then the illustrator for what a set of staples. I'm going to need 22 signatures. I only need 2 dimes signed. But yeah, that's going to be happening on the 23rd of November. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be invited to go along. It will be streamed on my channel. This site will be linked down below and I'll plug it again a bit closer to the time. But let's move on to the card reveal. First of all, I have to give a shout out to the artist for this card, Stefano, who has a range of experience doing all this different sort of art. This is their personal website. It will be linked down below. Extremely talented. And from Lorcana, they previously brought us Magica, Philatites, and Ed, all fantastic arts. And they have lent their talents to Lorcana once again. So without any further ado, allow me to reveal my ultimate nemesis. We have Basil, Disguised Detective. Absolutely love this outfit. Don't my man look dapper from the scene where they invade Ratigan's underground lair. But yeah, absolutely love this. So let's look a little bit. He's a 6-cost inkable 4/5. Quest for 2. He's a shift 4 and has the ability Twists and Turns. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may pay 1 ink to have chosen opponent choose and discard a card. So, let's break this down a little bit. I've said it many, many times, I am not the biggest lover of discard, but this is Basil. I'm absolutely thrilled to get this. Again, a huge shout out to Ravensburger. So let's have a little bit of a talk about this. We have had there is one other Emerald Basil which is coming up in Azure at Sea, which is a 3-cost 3/2 with evasive. Quest for 1, it's the same stat line as Peter Pan from the first chapter, but for Emerald, that would be your only shift target for this. However, if we look to Sapphire, we do have some other Basils, the most appropriate obviously being the 1-drop 2/1 with support, but if you really felt the need to run more Basils because you really want to get this online, then you could also run the 2-drop, but there could be an argument to playing the 3-drop if it's that important to you, just because with the 3 strength, it's out of brawl range. So if you want to maximize your shift targets for this, then you want to pair with blue, which obviously does have some synergy with the ability because it's whenever a card is put into your inkwell. So this is not just when you ink for turn, this is any time you put a card into your inkwell. So if you're doing an extra ink from Tipo, from 1 jump ahead, How Far I'll Go, Fishbone Quill, Great Stone Dragon, I think is a super nice combo card with this in particular. Then as long as you've got more ink to play, then you can keep making your opponent discard cards. This is not locked into once per turn, and that is the part of this that I think makes it kind of dangerous. The 4/5 is a super nice stat line, falls to Along Came Zeus, but it does stay out of natural range of Medusa, which is super important. Again, even if you are immediately removed by Zeus, or they ice block you and then Medusa you, then the odds are you've shifted this and then immediately got some value, whether that's through questing or just taking advantage of the ability. That being said, if you want to shift on turn 4 and get immediate benefit from this, then you have to have Fishbone Quilled on 3. You can also get this out turn 3 if you Tipo on 2 and play Basil on 1. But again, you won't be able to get immediate use of this ability unless you went turn 3 Fishbone and then played this on 4. So on curve, I don't think this is great, but later on in the game, this is far more realistic to be able to shift down and immediately make your opponent discard. The thing is, the question it beckons, do we need to? Is the discard stuff that Emerald already has access to Sudden Chill, potentially double singing that with Ursula, Prince John, Bruno, Anna, all the discard stuff that's being played. Like, if the idea is you want to play this turn 5 onwards to immediately get value, if things have gone well, by that turn, hopefully they've already got no hand, or it's so small that you would be happy with just another Sudden Chill. So I don't know if it's an immediate add. If you're going to go Emerald Sapphire, then I think that's far more likely because there are better odds to be able to get this down on a turn and do like a big extra ink turn kind of out of nowhere. Like, they could not see you could not play any discard until the turn you play this, although of course you always want to play a Prince John before you start making your opponent discard. So if you reveal that, then that's going to give away that you'll discard. Also, just the fact that this exists, and if you put down a turn 1 Basil, it could potentially be on people's minds. But yeah, I do like the idea of just having this big make them discard turn out of nowhere. You shift this on a turn where you've got at least 3 extra ink, and maybe you haven't even ink for turn, so you ink for turn, pay it, make them discard, and then if you're able to sing 1 jump plus how far I'll go with 2 things on board, or Fishbone, Great Stone Dragon, there's a good combination of ramp cards and more coming. The South of the Azure at Sea one, which is coming, which we're not going to look at in this video, but that's a bit of a bonkers card. So the odds of being able to get off a big multi-ink turn, as we know, are not unrealistic. It's just a question of, is this the best way to go about it again when just in Emerald you already have the access to Sudden Chill and double sing it with Ursula. Like, I really like this card and I think it has some pop-off potential, but I just don't know if it's good enough to replace what's already going on. I don't think you play this in green steel emerald steel discard. I don't think you play this in Emerald Amber Under the Sea, because that's got You Have Forgotten Me anyway, which, sure, we love having this discard on a body, but You Have Forgotten Me is just play. This takes a little bit more setup and, you know, having enough ink to be able to get a big discard turn off for your opponent. There is also just the fact that he's a potential singer. We don't have many really noteworthy 6-cost songs at the moment, but in the past, whenever we've looked at Floodborns that are cost 6 but they shift on 3 or 4, we've always said, hey, if a day comes where we get some really busted 6-cost songs, then suddenly we look at these cards in a different light. And again, just the fact that this is relatively early shifter that could potentially one day sing a notable 6-cost song with a good ability, questing for 2, the stat line isn't awful. I just wonder if we've got other things that perhaps already do it better. Overall, I super like this card. I think it's got some potential. There's definitely some fun deck potential there. And hey, it is something that could come up as something that's a rogue. Like, if you are playing Emerald Sapphire and you've already got good enough reason to run like the 1-drop Basil with support, because that can help for taking out daisies and things like that. I don't know. I love him so dearly. He is so incredibly dapper. And the pop-off ability for the pop-off potential for this ability, I think is there. I just don't know if it's good enough to warrant playing 4 of this plus 4 Basil. I mean, maybe you don't play 4 of this, but yeah, super strong ability. I just don't know if it's outclassing what's already going on. But again, if Emerald Sapphire isn't a deck that's hugely being played, if you do want to play some Emerald Sapphire discard, it feels like that's definitely the home for this and where you could get the highest value from the ability. But yeah, a super interesting card. Let me know what you think of Basil Disguised Detective. I'm going to go on and look at a few more cards now from Azure at Sea, but if you're hopping off now just because you want to see the card reveal, if I haven't got this up in time, then it might be clashing with the DLC, so completely understand. Do please hit the like button for me on your way out. But for those of you sticking around, we're going to look at a few more cards from Azure at Sea, and we're going to start off by going through some amber. We've got Winnie the Pooh, Honey Pirate Lookout. You knew it was only going to be a matter of time. Ain't he sweet? He's got support. He's a 2-cost uninkable 2/2 quest for 1, support. And we're pirates, you see. Whenever this character quests, the next pirate character you play this turn costs 1 ink less. My problem with this is I feel like I would immediately just rather play Lantern. Items are harder to interact with, and you're not restricted to pirates, because even in a dedicated pirate deck, there are probably going to be a few cards that you play that are just staples for those colours, just super strong, that aren't pirates, which Lantern could contribute towards. But that being said, just the fact that this is a character and a pirate and like a body on board, like I don't think his quest potential and his stat line is all that, but if he is just synergizing with the pirate cards in our deck, like there's Jim Hawkins that we looked at in the last review video who just searches for pirates, so the odds of being able to find these later on, like have more hits, that alone is relevant. And any cards that are printed that care about pirates are going to prefer you to have the Winnie the Pooh. There's not a lot of stuff that cares about pirates at the moment. Before Azure at Sea, it's pretty much just Jolly Roger. There's a couple of cards that care about fighting pirates, like the Peter Pan Wolfsbane, I believe. And obviously there's Smee, who doesn't take damage. No, that's a captain. But yeah, there's not a lot of support for pirates, but there are a couple of cards coming up in this set which mention buffs for pirates. So in that instance, maybe he becomes a part of the deck because of that. I think this could have could have been inkable. I think that's so reasonable. The fact that it's like specifically cut pirates, I think that would have made this totally fair. We'll stick to the pirate theme. We've got Owl Pirate Lookout. 3-cost inkable, 3/3 quest for 1, and well spotted. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, chosen opposing character gets -1 strength until the end of the turn. We already know that lowering strength can be significant. It is most significant, obviously, to Ruby and Emerald due to Under the Sea, Brawl, Medusa, Sisu, things like that. But Emerald Amber is already a deck that sees play with getting support from the Amber characters. Obviously, Kida does this a lot better, and I would also argue a lot of the time Painting the Roses Red does this a lot better. But if you are playing those sort of cards that care about lowering strength and you also want pirate synergy in your deck, then this seems fine. Next up, we've got Rue, littlest pirate. I can't, mate. I can't. Like, it's too cute. 2-cost inkable, 1/2, quest for 1. I'm a pirate too! Ah, bless him. Leave him alone. Look at all my ships, mama. We're going to the Azure at Sea. I don't think that's a good Rue voice. I need to watch some Winnie the Pooh, apparently. But yeah, when you play this character, you may give chosen character -2 strength until the start of your next turn. Immediately, this is something that I think more realistically could go into those decks that care about the strength on characters, even if you're not playing pirates, because 2 costs just on play. No, like, again, the Owl, the fact that you could do it potentially every turn is cool, but generally speaking, on play abilities I find better. You can get the Owl on play, but like it's not an on play. You would also have to be able to ink. My point being, I super like this. Perhaps there's a chance that this finds its way into a deck that isn't pirates, just because this is a fairly strong minus strength. Like -2 is rare. Like obviously Kida's the queen. But yeah, I think this is okay. And she's not a pirate, which I hope we're going to get a pirate version of her. But we got Kanga, Nurturing Mother. She's a 3-cost uninkable 2/4 quest for 1, and Safe and Sound. Whenever this character quests, choose a character of yours, and that character can't be challenged until the start of your next turn. So obviously this like 2 strength we don't like, especially on uninkable cards. That's a terrible combo. Worth noting though, if you do get the quest off and protect something, even if they brawl this, the protection lingers. This doesn't have to stay on the board. Also interesting to point out that if you have 2 of these, you can just have them quest and be protecting each other. It's an okay ability, and 4 willpower is not awful, but I think this needed to either be inkable or have 2 lore on it, and then maybe you would consider it for some sort of aggro deck. Largely, I think it's too slow, and yeah, low lore plus uninkable, I don't think there's a chance for her. We're not done with Amber, but I'm just going to look at a couple of the other relevant pirate characters. So going on to Ruby, we have Wendy Darling. 2-cost uninkable, 1/2 quest for 1, evasive, and Look Lively crew. While you have another pirate character in play, this character gets a +1 strength and +1 lore. So best case scenario, she is a 2-cost uninkable 2/2 with evasive that quests for 2. which isn't bad. But again, like, uninkable slots are so precious. I think the card really needs to be that good, or at least the high roll needs to be that good when you're including them. And while people are building to take out Diablos, even if it's not with things like Brawl and it's just like having evasive characters, then I don't see this sticking around too long. It's uninkable. Unfortunately, until we get a decent Floodborn Ruby Wendy Darling Captain Pirate, I don't believe. Quick look at this Kakamora, 2-cost inkable, 1/3 quest for 1, and dizzying speed. When you play this character, chosen pirate character gains evasive into the start of your next turn. I think this is one of the best new potential pirate additions immediately. 2 cost is nice and cheap, it's inkable. Being able to give evasive to something already on board and take out a Diablo or like any other evasive characters that come into format is super good. So yeah, in any pirate build that's using Ruby, I dare say this is a part of it. And we've got John Silver, Dangerous Friend, who the viewers of the channel know I'm very sentimental to. 4-cost uninkable, 2/4, quest for 2, and you have to chart your own course. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 1 damage to one of your other characters. If you do, ready that character. They cannot quest for the rest of the turn. So this is super interesting, and we've looked at a few cards in the past where like self-damage matters. My reveal card for last set, which was the Gaston Pure Paragon, you can play cheaper based on damage counters on your board. There's also like super old things like setting up Rapunzel's. There's a Wreck-It Ralph that we got in the last set that quests for more based on the damage on him, and there'll be a couple of others that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head. So any deck like that wants to do self-damage, then this can obviously synergize with that. There's also Ratigan, obviously, and Ratigan's party that cares about self-damage characters. So there are a few things that I feel like this could synergize with. Unfortunately, I don't think any of those things are there yet, or we have enough of the puzzle. And again, just being uninkable and the fact that this is 2 strength and this is on quest, like, I think I'd prefer this to have been on play, to be honest. Like, even though the potential is you could do this every turn, which in some metas and on some cards, certain effects, situations is going to be better. But generally speaking, I like on-play abilities. And I think just being uninkable, again, everything we said not too long ago, those slots are super precious. But if we get a load more support for characters that like care about being damaged, and again, even though they can't quest, you could maybe quest and then sing, or quest and then challenge. So I do think he's an interesting card. I don't see a place for him yet. Another pirate, we've got Minnie Mouse, Pirate Lookout. She's a 3-cost uninkable, 3/2, quest for 1, and land ho. Once during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may return a location card from your discard to your hand. I actually think this is really interesting, even outside of a dedicated pirate deck. Because if you think about like 1-drop locations that have like 4, I think generally they are 1/4, 1 to move there, 4 willpower, and 1 law. At least Neverland and Deville Manor are like that, and I imagine we'll get more for that at different colours. So if you are combined with either of those, then it increases the odds that, like, because playing that turn 1 and just having it removed in a couple of turns by a couple of opposing characters isn't great. You've lost a character for nothing. The only thing you've really stopped them potentially doing is questing, but they might not have done that anyway if you'd have just put down a character. So that can feel bad. But at the same time, if you know you're going to be able to immediately, like, you're going to be able to get these locations back, I think there's a world where, like, you do get value from just putting down early locations, forcing your opponent to be making challenges and, like, not wanting to ignore these locations. And in turn, slow them down, like, make them spend a couple of turns, like, dealing with these locations, and then you just get it back for free. I do think there's something there. Obviously, if you are paired with pirates, there's Jolly Roger, which can be super good, giving rush to your pirates, and they can move to it for free, which often makes it a fairly early target to be taken out, and it's not very bulky. But if you know you've got Minnie, then you can perhaps be a bit more reckless with your Jolly Roger. So yeah, whether it's with pirates or just in a location-heavy deck, I absolutely think there's something here, and this is something I could 100% see meta play. There are a couple more, but we're just going to look at 2 more pirates before we go on. We've got Mr. Smee, Steadfast Mate. I'm just going to say it. Steadfast should have revealed this. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it. 2-cost Inkable, 3/2, quest for 1, and good catch. During your turn, this character gains evasive. Now, there is already a extremely good 2-drop Mr. Smee, potentially the best 2-drop in the game. So this is very much competing, and that one is very much better, but this is still great, the fact that this is a Diablo answer, and I show him more than anything because we have the Floodborn Mr. Smee, captain of the Jolly Roger. They released a narrative story on the Lorcana website a few days ago, which gave sort of hints about this, and I think when they I think it's Ambush, a card that's coming, where it's got Smee, I think, in this attire, so this was very much teased, and don't you look dapper. 6-cost uninkable, 3/6, quest for 2, shift 4, he's a pirate and a captain, and raise the colours. When you play this character, you may deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of your other pirate characters in play. Let's take a quick look at our pirates. This won't include any from set 6. But yeah, there's a Mr. Smee in Amber. Ruby obviously has Captain Hook. Steel has the lion's share with more Captain Hooks, the aforementioned Smee, this Silver, this Donald Duck. So in Steel alone, like, you could play 4 Captain Hook, 4 Mr. Smee, and then potentially copies of this, and then that could kind of be enough. The other cool thing about this is that if you shift, you could immediately sing A Whole New World, which is pretty cool. We hate 3 strength, but again, if you're playing him and then if you're shifting him and immediately singing, questing, getting use from this ability, then we don't care about that as much. We like the 6 willpower because it's going to be harder to bring him down questing for 2. I wish he included himself. I so wish he included himself. If you want to do this on curve, the most damage you're doing is 2 straight away, because let's say you played Hook on 1, you need to play the Smee to shift on 2, and then say turn 3, you play another pirate, and then turn 4, you can shift your turn 2 Smee, and then you're doing 2 damage, which can be okay. If he included himself and that was a guaranteed 3 for doing it on curve, I think that makes this so much better. And again, later on in the game, hey, like, if you're in a top deck situation and you've got a couple of pirates and your opponent's sort of topping and playing to the board, this could make a super nice top. But it could also not if you draw it at the wrong time. I don't know, he's super cool. I just don't think it's good enough, unfortunately. Like, we need more super good pirates. And maybe a way to flood the field. Like, don't get me wrong, there was that Winnie the Pooh that we looked at who can reduce cost to, like, flood out pirates, but again, you could also do that with Lantern, but obviously Winnie the Pooh contributes to being one of these pirates. Maybe there's a FluteSong pirate deck? Steel R. Yeah, he's super cool. The ability could be strong. I don't know, like, and being uninkable as well. Like, again, or make this inkable, or let him include himself for the ability. Yeah, super fun. Definitely a part of a fun pirate deck, which, you know, the more support these fun decks get, the potentially better they get overall. Whether or not they'll ever be meta is still to be seen. Who knows? We could get some super busted pirate support. As it stands, I don't think it's enough. Please tell me I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. Moving away from pirates, just doing a couple more in Amber. I do want to look at this Scrump card. 2-cost uninkable item. Exerts one of your characters. Chosen character gets -2 strength until the start of your next turn. So we've mentioned a couple of times already, some decks really care about lowering strength, and this is on an item. The exert of one of your characters, on first look, makes this look really bad, and hey, it might still be. But just food for thought. Obviously also the character has to be dry. You can't put something down and then use this to immediately exert it. It is still a cost, and the character needs to be dry to exert, which does make this slower. And while I can't do anything about that, I do think it's worth mentioning that there are a couple of characters that care about being exerted. The first one that comes to mind is the Tiana, who, while exerted, locks your opponent out of actions. There's also the Genie that we got in the last set that a couple of people have been using with Cogsworth to give it rush, so you can immediately challenge and get that exerted, and it stops your opponent's characters readying at the start of the turn. There may be 1 or 2 others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But yeah, while this is still slow, this is a card that has potential synergy with those sort of cards. So while I'm not putting this immediately saying, yo, standout card of the set, I think there's a little bit more here than I imagine some people are going to immediately see. More than I immediately saw. It took a kind of second look at this to kind of think through the potential. Maybe it's still not enough, but I thought it was worth mentioning. I won't give up, I won't give in till I reach the end. Then I'll start again, and I won't leave. I wanna try everything, I wanna try even though I could fail. Interesting story about this song. So I only recently watched Zootropolis, which, before people get annoyed at me, in the UK, it is called Zootropolis. This was super confusing for me. Apparently it's because the copyright for Zootopia was already taken in the UK and other countries by a Danish zoo. So Disney couldn't legally use Zootopia in the UK. But yeah, irrelevant. I hadn't seen the film, watched it recently, super enjoyed it, and then I heard this song and I was like, oh, it's this. I did this, I can't remember which one, but I used to do pantomimes every single year, and quite commonly pantomimes will take a lot of their songs. Like, depending on what pantomime it is, they'll do stuff, and like if it's Aladdin, they tend to sing A Whole New World, and like sometimes One Jump Ahead, and a couple of things from the original, but then generally they rotate in whatever like the modern pop song is for that year, the popular stuff. Pop song, there you go. Clues in the name, Baker. But yeah, this was in one of the pantomimes I did a few years ago. So when I heard that playing on the film, I was like, whoa, I know this. I do know this song. It's a bit of a banger. But yeah, this song, 2-cost Ingable, return a character card with cost 2 or less from your discard to your hand. Not bad. Songs are good and bad. Like, obviously, we love songs. The singing mechanic is one of the best things about Lorcana, and like one of the most busted things in Lorcana. But again, there's so much song hate for things like Ursula, which can make them bad. But again, generally you get more value from singing songs. Cost 2 or less might sound bad, but again, if you are a specifically built aggro deck, then again, if you are an aggro deck, are you really wanting to sing this with one of your 2-cost characters just to get another one back? Probably not. Potential synergy with cards we've talked about in the past before. The Robin Hood was the first one, but coming up in Amber, in Azure at Sea, there's a Chip or Dale, which gets rid of characters off the top of the deck. And if you just want to be able to sort of like help cherry pick out specific low-cost, strong cards, then this could be a way to do that. So yeah, not mind-blowing by any means, but could be a combo piece in something. Just going to look at 3 more. I don't want this video to overrun. We've got Mr. Is it Litwak? It's from Wreck-It Ralph. I think it's Litwak. I'll double check. But Arcade Owner. 3-cost Inkable, 2/3 quest for 1. The gang's all here. Once during your turn, whenever you play another character, you may ready this character. He can't quest or challenge for the rest of the turn. Super cute little singer. You play this on 3, have him sing something, and then play a character, and then you can immediately ready him, keep him safe if you've got enough 3-cost songs that you want to be consistently singing. This could be worth, yes, he's brawled, but doesn't sound like a huge value brawl to me. Like, again, unless they're getting tons of value out of this. But yeah, it's interesting. It's not something I expect to immediately see play, but it's cool. Right, final 2 cards. We're going to look at Tiana, Restaurant Owner. 3-cost uninkable, 1/4, quest for 2, and special reservation. Whenever a character of yours is challenged while this character is exerted, the challenging character gets -3 strength this turn, unless their player pays 3 strength. So this is whether they're challenging her or any other character you've got on board, they get a -3 strength unless they can pay 3. So worth saying, even Maui going into Tiana here does not take her out. You'd only be doing 3 strength. Unless, of course, they're playing it much later in the game and they do have that extra ink, and especially if they're Ruby Sapphire. This is another example of a card that I think has a very powerful effect, but I don't think the card is good in today's meta. And I'm super sorry. I know some people are bored of this, but it's just the truth of it. This is just falling immediately to not just Brawl, but Daring Visitor Sisu. Like, play this with Lumiere to make it 2. Okay, you're still being brawled. And I know that's such a super boring answer, but for this being uninkable and slow, I just don't think it's worth it. But I will say, again, we looked at that item not too long ago where I was saying there's potential, like, characters that care about being exerted. Another Tiana that cares about being exerted. So if you can play this on 3, and then you have something that you played on 1 or 2 where you're immediately able to exert this, then I do think it becomes a little bit better. The fact that a quest for 2 is good. Yeah, super powerful ability, but I'm sorry, I just don't think you can include it while Daring Visitor and Brawl are so prevalent, not while being uninkable and having an ability that most of the time is going to be super slow. So she's really strong. Again, please tell me I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, But those of you that have been with the channel for a while, and I'm going to flex here a little bit, while there are cards I've absolutely called wrong in the past and have been better or worse than I've called, I think I've got a fairly good record for recognising where a card's going to fall. And yeah, while I could be wrong, unfortunately, I just don't think this is it. Alright, last card we're going to look at, and I think this is one of the most busted cards in the set, not necessarily straight away, although I do think that straight away there's definitely already something there. But I just think this ability is bonkers. We've got Sugar Rush, Speedway, Finish Line, 2 cost, uninkable location, 6 to move there, 7 willpower, and bring it home, little one. When you move a character here from another location, you may banish this location to gain 3 lore and draw 3 cards. That is an incredible payoff. Immediately immediately drawing 3 and gaining 3 lore. You lose this location, but nonetheless you've drawn 3, so you've +2 minimum, and the +3 lore seems super good. The 6 to move there in some cases will make this unplayable, but if there's enough synergy, and there's characters like Tuk Tuk who on play allow you to move characters to another location. And don't get me wrong, I understand there's some setup revolved here. You've got to have played another location. You've got to have played another character that you then move to that location and then get this down and then there's absolutely a lot of setup involved. Still some setup, but perhaps less, is the card that this is obviously meant to synergize with. In Ruby, Sugar Rush, Speedway, starting line. 1 cost uninkable, nothing to move there, 5 willpower, and on your marks, once per turn, you may exert chosen character here and deal 1 damage to them to move to another location for free. So 0 to move here, nice and easy. Just get a dry character, perhaps we're shifting, and then exert, do 1 damage to ourselves, move ourselves to the speed highway, banish that, gain 3. And perhaps we're also playing cards like amongst Ruby that care about having damage on them, so maybe we can find some benefit from that self 1 damage as well. I want to see a couple more races with more notable effects. There are a couple that are okay. Potentially other ways to move here for free or cheaper so that you're not completely reliant on the starting line. And the thing is, even if you're playing like 4-4 of this finish line and starting line, that's already 8 of your uninkable spots. And a couple of the races that come to mind as being okay are uninkable as well. So you probably have to deny yourself some of the other potentially good uninkables already in those colours. I don't know if it's going to be there straight away. Maybe it will, like with more cards revealed from this set, but I think this is super close to being an archetype that you completely build around, because I think this payoff is potentially worth it. Am I off the mark on this one? Am I way off the finish mark? Let me know, but I'm really high on this card. I'm going to leave it there. I've still got a lot of card reviews to do, but I'm going to get through them next week. Obviously, my priority is going to be covering the top deck lists from DLC Seattle. And as set championship season ends, I've got 2 more videos I'm going to do on that. One more standard video looking at winning deck lists, and then one specifically for the juniors. But besides that, new card reviews is very much going to be my priority. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Whether you stuck around to the end, or maybe you just watched the card review, went away and came back and watched the rest of this later, I appreciate you. Oh, last thing, you have absolutely earned Heffalumps and Woozles. I promise you next week, and I'm going to put some effort into it. I've got a couple of ideas. But yeah, that's absolutely been earned. Huge thank you to everyone that's been hitting the like button and just supporting the channel. But that's going to be it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show support, and we'll see you soon.